Welcome back. You're going to have to turn your journal. This is the last video, so that will feel good. You're going to have to turn your journal. You can see that we've done the powers of 10, and then you're going to have to turn it one more time. But what I want to write at the bottom of this is just the word practice. There's going to be a bunch of practice with the standard form. What's the next color we use? I think we used blue. And then I believe we used red. And then purple. So we have to go over all of these methods again of how to write numbers. Standard form, word form, expanded form, and expanded using powers of 10. So that's what we're going to be doing. We are going to be practicing on the back page. So go ahead and spend some time or pause the video and write this all out. But we're going to take one number and we're going to do all 4 methods on the back page. And then we'll take a look at the practice page and your assignment. So here we go. The number is this number. I'm just going to give it to you in standard form. Okay? It is 4. I'm not going to say it because that'll help you later. So I'm just going to say 4,972 decimal 856. I want you to put that in a green box. Did we use green for standard? I think we did. That is the number in standard form. So we're just going to write it off to the side here. This is standard form. It's just the number. In order to do the next one, you're really going to need to know how to say that number. So let's transfer that number into word form. You ready? Let's start over here with quotation marks. How do you say this number? Do not sneak in an extra and. See if you can say it at the same time as me. You ready? Take a deep breath. 4,972 and 856 thousandths. Okay, here we go. 4,000, 900. Do I put a comma there after 900? No, there's not a comma there. 972. And, I'm going to underline the word and because that's important. And, now you say what you see. 856. And you say what place value it ended in. I love word form. And done. Let's go ahead and put that decimal in black. I think that would be important. And underline it in black. That was our word form. And I believe we used blue for word form. So we're going to put that in a blue rectangle. There it is. This was word form. You are going to be asked on your assignment and moving forward to be able to do numbers in different forms. So make sure you know how to do this part. Those 2 are really easy. You have to look back in your journal, which I need to do on this page now. You have to look back in your journal a page and read what expanded form says. Expanded form says, break the number into each place value, one at a time, and write what that number really represents. So remember, we broke this up. We said, what does that 3 really mean? 30,000. What does that 5 really mean? 5,000. What does that 0 really mean? 0. Nothing in the hundreds. What does that 2 really mean? 20, because it's in the tens place. What does that 6 really mean? 6. So now we're going to take our number, our really long number, and we are going to write it out in expanded form. Okay? So it's not too difficult. All we do is we pull the first number. So we're going to have to be looking at this. What does that 4 really mean? Hopefully you said that 4 really means 4,000. What does that 9 really mean? Remember, you add each piece together. That 9 means 900 because it's a 9 in the hundreds. What does that 7 mean? 70 because it's 7 tens, which is 70. And what does that 2 really mean? It just means 2. It's 2 ones. But I got to keep going. What does that 8 really mean? This is where it gets a little more difficult. You have to think of it as fractions first. So if I have 0.8, that's an 8 in the tenths place. That would mean it means 8 tenths. We would write that as a fraction like this, 8 tenths. Keep going. What does just the 5 mean? The 5 is in the hundredths place. Therefore, it means 5 hundredths. And what does that 6 really mean? 6 in the thousandths. So that fraction looks like 6 thousandths. So when you do expanded form and you have decimals, you're going to notice that you have wholes and then it breaks into pieces. You can also represent, we're going to write that in cursive, a cursive red. You can also represent a number in expanded form using decimals instead of fractions right there. So all the whole numbers are the same. It still means 4,000 plus 900 plus 70 plus 2. And what changes here is that it's not 8 tenths as a fraction, but you write 8 tenths as a decimal, which looks like this. We had that lesson yesterday. 0.8 means no holes and 8 tenths. 8 tenths. The next one, how do you write 5 hundredths? It is written like that. And lastly, how do you write 6 thousandths? You have to have a 6 in the thousandths and the rest are zeros. Make sure those decimals are very clear. And that is how you would do it in expanded form, either using fractions or just decimals. Whatever way you choose to do it is fine. Usually an assignment or on a test or something, they'll tell you exactly what they're looking for. But you're going to go ahead and put a red box over all of these. These numbers, all these digits, are 4,972 and 856 thousandths, represented in expanded form. Go ahead and write the phrase expanded form off to the side and color that in red as well. And make sure that you have it written out and put in a red box. The last method we have to review is how to do expanded form, but using powers of 10. Remember that practice? Using powers of 10. So instead of just, what does that mean? You're going to pull the digit and multiply it by the place value. Let's just double check what our purple notes look like here. Break the number into each place value one at a time and multiply it by the correct place value. So there's a 3 in the 10,000. So you do 3 times 10,000. Then you do 5 times 1,000. You're pulling each digit into its place value, multiplying it. You're using parentheses to show groupings, and you're going to add that all together. So we can also represent it using the powers of 10, right? So this last way is going to be expanded form using powers of 10. It's a really long phrase to write, but we're just going to start doing it before we put a box on there. So let's take the number 4,972 and 856 thousandths. So we have to pull the first number, which is 4. We pull it from its place. We begin with parentheses. We put the 4 and we multiply it by the place value it's in. What place value is this 4 in? I want you to say it to yourself. What place value is this 4 in? If you said thousands, you are correct. There's the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. So you take 4 and you times it by 1,000 and you close the parentheses. The next section, which you remember we're going to add, so you can be doing that right now, set of new parentheses. You pull the next digit. Take the 9, pull it. So you take the 9 and you multiply it by the place value that it's in. The 9 is in the hundreds, so you multiply it by 100. Close the parentheses. next number. We have a 7 in the tens, then a 2 in the ones. So you do a 7 times 10, close the parentheses, add that to a new set of parentheses, a 2 in the ones. When you are writing the multiplication sign, you can say in the, like I just did, to help remind you. So I had a 4 in the thousands, a 9 in the hundreds, a 7 in the tens, and a 2 in the ones. But that's not all. I have to keep going. There's more numbers. I have an 8 in the, what place value is it? The tenths. So I set up parentheses again. I have an 8 in the, and how are we going to show tenths? Let's practice it first with fractions, just like up here. An 8 in the tenths. Close the parentheses. What should you do if you run out of space right here? It's okay. It's totally okay. You just come right here and you put a plus sign and you keep going. Plus, what digit is next? A 5 in the hundredths. So put parentheses, a 5 in the hundredths. Add it to the last one. And then we have a 6 in the thousandths place value. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. I want you to take your finger and touch those three numbers again and say them with me. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Thank you. So I have a 6 in the thousandths. Close the parentheses. That is one way to do expanded form using powers of 10. Technically, we took the powers of 10 and used them, but now I want you to show me, or dot, dot, dot. This one's going to be purple. Or we can actually put them in decimal form instead of in fraction form. Okay? So all the whole numbers stay the same. The 4, the 9, the 7, the 2. Ready? Here we go. 4 times 1,000. Notice that I'm putting parentheses. You should be doing that as well. Plus 9 times 100. Plus 7 times 10. Plus 2 times 1. And now I'm into the pieces. But this time, remember, I want you to try doing decimals, not fractions. So it's not difficult. You just do 8, because there's an 8 in the tenths. 8 in the, what does tenths look like in decimal form? A tenth, or 1/10 looks like this. 0.1. Okay, keep going. Add parentheses. A 5 in the, how do you do hundredths? 0.01. And lastly, a 6 in the thousandths. Whew. And a thousandths looks like 0.001. That was pretty crazy. And I think it's important to recognize that it takes time. You cannot expect to get that done super fast. You have to go one number at a time, slowly, making sure you're getting the digits correct and the place values correct. All of that is super important when you're dealing with expanded form using powers of 10. That's right, we get to write that right here. Expanded form. Now, in this situation, I didn't technically use powers of 10. Like I didn't, well, I guess technically I did, but I didn't show that as bases and exponents, right? But what I could do here is I could go back and say, well, 1,000 is 10 to the first. Oh, sorry, not 10 to the first. Silly Miss Fisher. 1,000 is 10 to the third because it's a 1 with 3 zeros. 10 to the third. 100 is 10 to the second. What is just 10? It's 10 to the first. I taught you this cool trick. What is 1? It's 10 to the 0th power. That's just kind of a fun one. You don't really have to write that one if you don't want to. In fact, I might erase it. But you know that for the future. And then these are not powers of 10 necessarily, these fractions. And we're not going to represent them, we're not going to represent them with bases and exponents. But that's kind of what that really means. But you really should just know your place values. You should know that 10 to the third is 1,000, 10 to the second is 100, and 10 to the first is 10. That's something really good to know. All right, that is it for the journal portion of this lesson, but we still need to do our practice and a little bit of homework help. So you need to go find your Math Expressions, Volume 1, and you need to rip out page number 49. Find page number 49, it looks like this, and rip it out and join me in the next video.